Solar energy in Arizona, the community of Gila Bend, home to the world's largest solar thermal energy plant.
This is happening right now. We're producing enough power for 70,000 homes from the sun, and only from the sun. So I think this is just the beginning of even bigger things that are going to happen in the future.
A generating station that produces electricity even after the sun goes down. But how viable of a resource is it? Arizona Corporation Commission weighs in.
People wanting to have sort of this independence. They want to have their own source of power, and solar happens to be what it is right now.
An abundance of sun in the Grand Canyon State, what sunshine means for the future. This is Arizona Week. The Solana generating station is just west of the town of Gila Bend. From Interstate 8, you can see the massive site, 1,900 acres, 3 square miles of parabolic troughs, literally a million mirrors that track the sun and then produce energy. A $2 billion facility unlike anything you've ever seen before. Scott Nolan, the plant manager here at the Solana generating facility. Thanks for the tour today.
My pleasure.
So what exactly is this facility? Who are we servicing?
The Solana facility, built by Go, is servicing about 70,000 homes in the Phoenix area. Our only contract is with APS, and we sell all the power to APS, who provides it to the Phoenix area. Construction
really began back in about 2011, you said?
Correct.
So 2014, here we are. Describe how successful it's been. What's it look like?
You know, I think it's been very successful. Actually, even much better than I could have imagined. I came out here the first time in 2011 when it was nothing but dirt out here. And to see what has been accomplished and what's been built and then how well it's operating, I think better than I could have ever dreamed.
Okay, keep it simple though. How exactly do we take the energy from the sun, store it, and then use it?
You know, it's very simple. The key is for the Solana facility, is that we can actually store energy and run with solar power at nighttime. And the way we do that is very simple. We heat up a synthetic oil. Once we heat up that oil, we use that hot oil to create steam and then run it through a conventional turbine generator cycle like any power plant. The key for Solana is a lot of that hot oil we use to heat up a material called molten salt. So we heat that molten salt up and then we store it in large tanks. Once it's stored in those large tanks, once the sun goes down, we take the heat from that molten salt that was heated up during the daytime, and we reheat the oil again and use the oil to again make steam and create power. So we can operate at full load for 6 hours once we come offline, and that's 280 megawatts, enough for those 70,000 homes we talked about.
Now the oil, the salt, do you ever have to replace it?
You shouldn't have to replace it at all. I mean, we are operating within certain parameters that the manufacturer requires us to operate within. And as long as we operate within those, we expect the salt and the oil to last the full 30-year term of the power purchase agreement.
Why Gila Bend?
Well, I think that anytime you're building a solar power plant, there are certain things you have to look for, site characteristics. First of all, you need to find some flat land. You know, anytime you have land that you have to move a lot of dirt around, it may become cost prohibitive to build something. We're 1,900 acres here, so it's a large facility. Number two, we like to look for previously disturbed land. Previously disturbed land, this land, for example, was an old alfalfa farm. And the water usage for Solana is about 1/10 what was being used when this was an alfalfa farm. Additionally, you need to be near a transportation corridor to get all the equipment and everything in here that you see. And you also need to be near transmission lines. It just makes sense to be near transmission lines to do that. And right here is a great place. All those things kind of intersect right here outside of Gila Bend.
The minimal water usage is something you're proud of.
I think I am proud of it. I think I'm not only proud of that, I'm proud of the whole facility. I think Go has done a wonderful thing here. I think the government, by choosing to move forward with these things, is doing a good thing. I just think when I come here every day that we're doing the right thing for the environment, we're doing the right thing for Arizona, and I just think it's a great place to be.
Describe these panels to me. We've seen some movement. So how exactly does it work out here?
So the collectors themselves, what we're looking at right here is just one collector. And this collector is one of 3,200 that we have in the entire solar field here. And basically it starts in the east, pointing east in the morning, sun comes up, and then automatically it tracks the sun all day long until the sun goes down in the afternoon. And what it's doing is the parabolic trough, the curvature of the mirrors, reflects the sun against that black tube to heat up the oil. So this is where we're heating the oil right here in the solar field.
This is the wave of the future, it feels like.
I think the future is something else. I think this is what we're doing right now, and I think that's important for people to understand. I mean, this is happening right now. We're producing enough power for 70,000 homes from the sun, and only from the sun. So I think this is just the beginning of even bigger things that are going to happen in the future.
What do you want people to know about this place?
I do. I think it's important. You know, we don't give public tours, but we certainly are trying to provide education to the communities and the community at large, the entire Arizona area. But I think it's important that you're doing a show like this to help people see what's out here and what's really happening, especially all the cars that drive down I-8 every day and they get to see and they go, what the heck is going on over there? So it's pretty cool.
The glass used in those mirrors was built by a Phoenix area company. And later in the show, we'll take a look at the Solana generating station from about 70 feet above the plant. As the solar energy sector continues to expand, you often see panels on the rooftops of homes, businesses, even schools. The Tucson Unified School District is embarking on an 18-month project that's expected to save millions of dollars in energy costs over the next 20 years.
Construction is underway at this East Side school. Solana Solar is in the Tucson Unified School District. Spokeswoman Kara Renee says TUSD is leading the way in reducing its carbon footprint by installing solar panels in more than 40 schools. The largest project of its kind, she says, in the country.
Well, we're looking at the construction of our solar panels that are going on here at Solana Solar Elementary School. This is the second one of our elementary schools to have the solar structures built. We have some completed at Marshall Elementary, and it really is the start of an extensive solar project for TUSD. We're very excited about it. We're going to have about solar panels in about 40 of our schools. We might get up to as many as 43, and it's just a terrific foray into reducing the carbon footprint of the district, cost effectiveness for the district, and it's a big project.
It's estimated the district's transition to solar energy will reduce 19,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions and 23.5 tons of nitrous oxide in the first year. Environmental science at its best. The teachers will put what's happening out here in their curriculum. And it's more than just science learning, it has an economic benefit.
We're able to be a leader really in the nation for school districts in putting this many solar panels on our schools to reduce energy costs, have cost savings in that way. It's a 20-year project, and we're anticipating the district will save $11 million over the course of that project, as well as giving kids opportunities, real opportunities to learn about solar energy right in the schools.
The Constellation Company maintenances the 4 structures throughout the campus at no charge to TUSD.
What's great about this is it's a win-win for the district because the district did not have to put any money up front. We are basically, Constellation is the company that is installing them. We're buying the energy from Natural Power and Energy. So we are going to see savings in that, and we don't own them, so we don't have to do the maintenance on them. We don't have to do any replacing of solar panels if they break.
And as the district faces funding cuts, the hope is that projects like this one will do more than save the environment.
Lots of other things that are going on in the district right now for energy efficiency with our HVAC systems. There's multiple things that are happening to be able to get more money into the classroom.
Hard to imagine now, but soon 38,000 panels like these will be up throughout the district. It's a sight parents and students are looking forward to.
People are very excited that we've taken this step. We have told the community that we were going to try to really find opportunities to be more cost effective and cost efficient, and this is a huge way to be able to do that. Like I said, there's lots of other things that we're looking at, just energy use within our buildings and our schools, but clearly solar energy in a place like Tucson, Arizona just makes good sense, and we're just going to do it in a really big way.
300 days of sunshine in the Tucson Unified School District. The sun is a source for more than just energy. For Arizona Week, I'm Alexandra Salazar.
The Arizona Corporation Commission regulates utilities in the state, and it's required utilities to generate at least 15% of their energy from renewable resources by 2025. Here now is Arizona Public Media's Vanessa Barchfield.
Commissioner Bob Burns, thanks for taking the time to speak with us today. What do you see as the future of solar power in Arizona?
Well, let's see, the quote I heard not too long ago is, people that predict the future are always wrong. So, it's hard to tell. It's hard to say. But I think there's certainly a great interest by the people in Arizona. We talk about solar, but I believe that maybe the real interest is people wanting to have sort of this independence. They want to have their own source of power, and solar happens to be what it is right now. I think there's other renewables out there, and I don't know that all of the new things that are coming fit into the renewable category.
Given the unlimited supply of the sun in Arizona, do we really need to be looking at renewables beyond solar?
Well, I think solar probably has a foot up because of that, but there are other things in the pipeline as well. There's fuel cells, and now that the natural gas is coming online as it has with fracking and so forth, they may be a contender as well. It's just, we have to wait and see kind of how things develop.
Should solar power be subsidized?
Well, that's a controversial issue. That's, I think, what has created quite a bit of the opposition to the expansion of solar. There are a lot of people who feel that it should not be subsidized. We have actually removed the upfront subsidy here at the Commission, and it's my understanding that at TEP service area there's actually a increase in the number of units. This year over last year there's been an increase. It's my understanding that Salt River is basically sort of same as last year. APS is down some, but so that question sort of has gone away, if you will, relative to a direct subsidy. There's still a tax credit, which is a federal tax credit, and that I believe is scheduled to go offline in 2016.
The Arizona Corporation Commission requires utilities to increase the share of renewable energy they sell to 15% by 2025, with a third coming from distributed generation. Do you believe those requirements are necessary, and will they stand?
Well, I don't know if they're necessary or not. I think they'll stay in place. I think it was a good idea to do that. I mean, that made sure that the individuals, if you will, individual homeowners have the opportunity to participate in the program.
Can you explain the rationale for letting Arizona's largest utility, APS, impose a $5 monthly fee on customers that install rooftop solar power?
Well, people go, and I mentioned this before, the desire to be independent. And that, I think, would be great if we could all be independent and have our own power system, but that's not the case. There is the grid, and the grid is, in my estimation, similar to the transportation system we use with automobiles. You have transmission lines that are similar to our freeways. You have the distribution system, which is similar to our streets and alleys, and people need that. They need to have that grid because solar only produces power when the sun is shining. And so if people want 24/7 coverage with power, and I think almost everybody certainly does, then they have to have the grid. And so somebody has to pay for that. It's an expensive infrastructure. And so the way our rate structure works is that as people use solar, their usage goes way down. And so currently part of the recovery of the cost of the grid is in the usage. And so as people reduce their usage, the people that are left that don't have solar have to pay more because there's a fixed cost and it has to be recovered. So that's, I think, the issue that gets people upset.
Since adding the fee, APS has seen rooftop solar installations drop. Do you think that fee is stifling demand?
Well, I'm not sure what that, we haven't identified the reason for that at this point. And so it's kind of hard to answer that until we know what the reason for the decline is.
Nuclear, coal, and petrol have long been subsidized at the state and federal levels. How can renewables compete?
Well, they are. I mean, they're competing. Like I said earlier, in the TEP service area, they're actually seeing an increase in the number of units that are being applied for and apparently built. So they are competing.
The Solana Generating Station is a subsidiary of Abengoa, a Spanish company. Abengoa solar plants are in 29 states. Solana was built using a $1.45 billion federal loan. Here again is Scott Nolan, plant manager at the Solana Generating Station outside of Gila Bend. So Scott, you're one of those people who loves coming to work every day.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look around, we see the background here of the plant. I drive through the gate every single day, and it's amazing to me. The idea, the technology, what Abengoa is doing here, excites me every single day.
Back in 2011, you were brought out here and it was barren desert.
Nothing but dirt. We actually parked on the far side of the field over there and just watched the bulldozers. They were clearing out the area here. And in my wildest dreams, I couldn't imagine how amazing and how big this place was going to be. I couldn't, it just didn't make sense to me. And now to look at it, it's wonderful.
You came out of retirement to come work in this empty dirt lot, and look at it now.
Well, I'm actually a little young to be retired. I came out of a different field to come back into solar. And I did it with the idea of what Abengoa was doing and how they were bringing solar back to the United States. So yeah, every day, Lorraine. You guys came through the gate this morning and you saw what I saw every single day. It's pretty amazing.
As you look at what it is now, are you excited about what the future holds just for the solar energy concept?
Oh, absolutely. I think that we hear a lot of times that maybe solar's not right now, and all these different people have different opinions. But my idea is that if we don't do this now, what is it going to look like in 50 years from now? We have to start somewhere. Let's start right now. This particular plant that Abengoa designed, allows us to produce power after the sun goes down. It's weird, a solar power plant that can produce power after the sun goes down. I think that's amazing, and I think that what we're doing today is what is going to expand into the future to make solar power a real part of the energy mix for the United States.
Let me ask you about what this facility means for this community, for Gila Bend, for people who are driving along the road here along I-8 and they see this magnificent site off to the side of the road.
I think it means a lot for the community, but what I really hope it means, I hope that when people drive down the I-8 and they see this facility, they'll do some investigation, they'll find out what it's all about, and hopefully will spark that interest in renewables that everybody needs to have. I just think it's vitally important for the country. I think it's important for the world, and I think driving right down the I-8, you can have a perfect view of the facility. What a great opportunity to learn about it and see what's going on.
To much different news now, The Buzz with my colleague Christopher Conover. And today we're joined by political correspondent here at Arizona Public Media, Andrea Kelly. Thank you both for being here. Let's start off with you, Christopher. A lot to cover this week.
There was a lot to cover. The legislature is trying to wrap up. There was a rumor they could have wrapped up this week. They didn't get quite everything finished, so most likely next week is what everybody is expecting. So a lot of action. And a lot of high-profile action. We could probably spend the whole half hour talking, but we won't. Let's start with some changes to access. House Speaker Andy Tobin pushed this bill. He was the sole sponsor of it, passed both chambers, and it would limit access for the state to a five-year cap, and it would also require able-bodied, and that's the way it's worded in the legislation, people to get a job or to be actively seeking a job while they're on access.
That's potentially controversial. We'll probably hear more about this.
It is potentially controversial, and there was plenty of argument on the floor about it, but it did pass the House, and it has already passed the Senate.
Okay, something else, school vouchers, which of course has been a fight from the beginning, and it looks like we'll see a fight till the end.
Absolutely. The House actually failed a school voucher bill this week on the floor. It's rare we see things fail on the floor. Once they get to the full House or Senate, they're pretty well worked out. And it failed 27-31. It could come back. Nothing is dead until that last gavel is sounded at the end of the session. But what this would do is it would allow kids who live in a zip code where the average family income is $44,000 or less for a family of four would be eligible for a school voucher. That's a huge expansion, and it failed, as I said, on the House floor, though with a week left, it very possibly could come back with one more vote.
And Andrea, you want to add to that? I mean, we're talking children.
Just had a question. Didn't it also require that people using those vouchers either had learning disabilities or some regulations like that?
This is an expansion of that, and it would have allowed firefighters and police, emergency personnel's children to get them, and then also all of these kids, these low-income kids. So it was just an expansion. And that was one of the big arguments. The backers of the bill were saying about 120,000 kids could be eligible. Democrats who opposed this said, no, that number could go as high as 500,000. It was capped at 5,600 kids a year by the legislature, but that number could have been changed over time.
Nonetheless, it involves children, which is something, of course, that we're going to pull out all the stops to be sure we cover it accurately. Okay, something else for the city of Tucson, for example, Rio Nuevo came up in the legislature this week, which is somewhat unusual, but not unexpected. Andrea.
Well, if you remember back a couple years ago, the state legislature actually moved this special redevelopment district in Tucson into more state control. So this is a redevelopment district in Tucson that relies on some state tax funding to pay for the redevelopment projects. And because it involves some state taxes, when the legislature saw that there was some lax oversight from the Rio Nuevo board several years ago, it actually reconstituted the board, so all of the members are appointed by the state, and that's why the state has an interest in this, state money and state appointees running it. What really changed this week is the legislature and Governor Brewer signed a bill to change the requirements of who on the Rio Nuevo board must live in the city. So it used to require that 5 of the 9 members were City of Tucson residents. Now that number was dropped to 4 out of 9, or less than a majority.
Which is controversial because we have people making decisions for a city project that may not actually live in the city, which it's interesting that people know those tax dollars might not be going where they thought they were.
Exactly, and some of the arguments are, you know, not all the money spent inside of this redevelopment district is spent by people who live in Tucson. Also, the redevelopment can benefit areas outside of Tucson. So there's kind of arguments to be made either way, but there's been some regional infighting from time to time on different regional boards here. So this could lead to another round of that, but it was a state change that was made this week.
Okay, Christopher?
One of the other arguments on that was within the Rio Nuevo district, a business owner within that district may not actually live within the city of Tucson. For example, in southern Arizona, someone could own a restaurant but live in Oro Valley, but they own a restaurant in downtown, so they have a stake what happens in the Rio Nuevo district. They just happen to own a house outside of the city of Tucson limits.
And there's already some development that is taking place in this project.
That's right. I mean, one of the big things that was mandated by the state is that the Rio Nuevo district and board work on the hotel, a downtown hotel and convention center. And actually in this same bill, that was one of the restrictions that was lifted. It's still something that the board can spend money on, but it is no longer required to do that before other things. So it's a little bit looser, and that could be partly because they are already working on the Tucson Convention Center. But yeah, new announcements of developments downtown. We had a new announcement of a grocery store going in by the end of the year, something that a lot of people have said would be a cornerstone to downtown.
Okay, some other big talk out of the legislature this week, of course, guns. Several bills to talk about.
Several bills went through the legislature this week dealing with guns. In particular, if you already have a concealed weapons permit or you get a concealed weapons permit, you would now be allowed to carry your gun into a public building. Right now, that's not allowed, whether you have a concealed weapons permit or not. There are some exceptions. Schools, community colleges, universities, if those institutions say, no, you cannot have a weapon, you still may not have a weapon on campus. Also, another one, if a local government passes a gun bill or a gun ordinance more restrictive than the state could fine the local government up to $5,000 and take the individual members who sponsored that ordinance at a county, city, town level to court. So that went through. We had another one that allows military members age 19 and over to get a concealed weapons permit. And then finally, if you take a gun from somebody who is lawfully carrying or using that gun, it would become an aggravated assault. Right now that would be a felony, but it would be up to an aggravated assault.
Is there a self-defense component to that, though, that discussion?
It's an interesting discussion because we already have a law on the books that says if you are lawfully carrying or using a gun and someone takes it from you, that's a felony. So this just takes it up to aggravated assault, which is a little higher level than just a regular felony.
Okay, and some much different news. Talking campaign finance, we saw Tom Horn in the news, of course, again this week.
We did. This goes back to his last election. An administrative law judge has found that he did not illegally coordinate his campaign with an outside group called Business Leaders for Arizona, headed by a woman named Kathleen Wynne. The accusation was that the two of them were talking and illegally coordinating against his Democratic opponent. An administrative law judge says, no, all the evidence was circumstantial. They did not illegally coordinate. Horn says the phone calls between himself and Wynne, which he admits to, were he was getting advice on a complicated real estate deal that he was involved with personally and was getting Wynne's advice at the same time that her group happened to put out this ad against his Democratic opponent.
It should be clear, Attorney General Tom Horn.
Attorney General Tom Horn. He is running for re-election at this point. The prosecutors could ignore the administrative law judge, so it will be interesting to see what happens. And again, the ultimate court, if you will, for him will be the voters, and he does have a primary.
Okay, Andrea?
I was just going to add that his opponent last year, or 4 years ago, Felicia Rodolini, a Democrat, really pushed hard on some of his potential legal issues that he'd had in the past, and I wouldn't be surprised if this keeps coming up. Even though this is one decision that has now been made, I think this will be something we'll continue to hear about.
Okay, and then of course we'll see you again, Christopher, next week for the wrap-up of the legislature. Okay, Christopher Conover, Andrea Kelly, thank you both for your time. And that's our program. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to join us next week as we take a look at campaign finance laws and their impact on the upcoming election cycle, also including a look at the latest campaign finance report filed just this week. For all of us here at Arizona Week, I'm Lorraine Rivera.